we go. We're on.
Where are we going?
Well, right now, nowhere, because nobody's here.
Okay.
We're going nowhere fast.
Hi there.
Aloha, everyone. Tiffany and Bob here with Whaler's Locker, and we just wanted to give you all just some updates on where we're at and what we're doing, and we thought today might be kind of a cool day to talk about Bob's diving and maybe some black coral, because we do sell the black coral in the shop, and it is significant being the Hawaii State gemstone. So kind of some neat stuff there. If you have any questions that you want to ask either one of us, type them in the comments. Annie's watching our comment section right now, and she'll make sure that we get those questions, and we'll get them answered for you at the end of our chat. But thank you all for showing up. We're really stoked to have you here, and we're just so grateful for all the support and love being sent our way. Spread the word with the website. That's our biggest request right now, is share our our social media posts. That way the algorithm pushes us to the top and keeps our exposure going. And then maybe we just started a YouTube page, so nothing much is up there yet, but there will be. If you can subscribe to that, check them out. So otherwise, here we go. So Bob, everyone knows Bob, the founder of our shop, established Whaler's Locker in 1971. But prior to that, he moved to Hawaii in, when did you move to Hawaii?
I moved over here in the latter part of 1959, just prior to Hawaii statehood, and started diving for black coral shortly thereafter commercially. I needed something to do, and so that's kind of what I picked, because there were so few people doing it at the time. There were only 2 or 3 that had tried. They had gotten Caisson's disease, or the bends, very early on, and so I was one of the only ones left working the trade with another gentleman named Harold Hall, who was also going to high school with me. I was 14 or 15 at the time, which sounds kind of young, but back then, why, if you wanted money, you had to actually go to work for it. And,
so you were 14 or 15 when you started diving coral?
I was 14 when I first started, and I was 15 when I first started selling it.
So did you start diving originally when you were 14, or did you dive before you came out to Hawaii?
No, I dove a little bit before I came out here. I was doing some diving in Florida, believe it or not, in Central Florida, for soft-shelled turtles and catfish that I was selling down in the low-income parts of town at the time. And that's how I started, that's how I got introduced to commercial diving. I was on my own. There was nobody else diving with me, so I had to learn it all 100% from scratch.
So is that before gauges? Did you have to just guess your air?
There was no such thing as a gauge. There was no such thing.
Well, what about the dive tables?
Even when I started diving for black coral, which was considerably more complicated, we were diving with World War II war surplus equipment, which was somewhat lacking in technology, to say the least, and quantities of air were quite limited, so we were running short of air supplies frequently, and that's what caused a lot of my diving partners to get the bends and ultimately end up being literally crippled from the waist down. I'm one of the very few people that actually got through all that for decades of diving without serious injury.
Yeah, there was a lot of injuries in the black coral days back in the 70s, 60s and 70s.
Yeah, there was a lot. I didn't come home with everybody I went out with more frequently than you would imagine.
Yeah, pretty intense stuff. And
It was.
one way you can really learn about it is there's the Black Coral movie, and I don't know if you all have seen it. We do have the DVDs on the website that you can buy directly from us. I know not everyone has DVD players anymore, so you can stream it online as well. I got a DVD the other day. I'm like, well, how am I going to watch this? I don't think I have anything to watch this on. And the so you can download it also as a streaming movie. blackcoralmovie.com. It's available there too. But definitely an interesting piece of Hawaii history and an interesting piece of Lahaina history, which is really even more significant now with the recent history that we've had there. So what are your favorite dives in the Black Coral fields?
Well, actually, diving for black coral never really became all that enjoyable to me until I learned how to dive on a rebreather from your husband.
Yeah. So
And
when so you started diving rebreathers in what year was that?
oh gosh, I don't know. It hasn't been all that long ago. It's the last
Before
6 or 7 years.
Oh, I think it's been longer than that. Maybe 2010.
Oh, it might be.
Yeah, it
I
could
don't
be.
know. Has it been that long?
I think everything feels like it was just the other day.
Yeah,
But
I've
it
been
is a lot longer
having
than
so
that.
much fun on a rebreather. That's the only way to go,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
So where's your favorite place to dive on a rebreather?
In the middle of the channel. Where else?
Where else? Where the black coral is.
Where the black
That's where all the
coral
fun
is.
is. The deep
Yeah.
stuff and the critters out there are pretty
and
cool.
lots of critters. I love
Yeah.
diving with sharks. They are my friends. And,
That is a sharky channel.
It's a sharky channel,
Yeah.
all right.
Yep, some of the biggest sharks I've seen are in that channel. There's also a place that you dived for hundreds and hundreds of hours out at Molokai.
Oh God, it's wonderful out there. I get to see everything, and everything gets to see me.
Yeah.
And just a few weeks ago, I was just swimming off of Kaanapali, and one of my best swims ever. And I was suddenly found myself surrounded by a small species of mackerel, and they were being predated on by a couple of dozen short fin mako sharks, which I had never seen before. They're generally found only in very, very deep water, very far offshore, but these were in close to shore, in probably less than 60 feet of water. And they come up from the bottom and swim around me in groups of 4 or 5 for about an hour or so. It's a good thing nobody else was out there swimming with me, because they
wouldn't have stuck around.
They would have just freaked out, and somebody would have ultimately gotten hurt seriously. But it was quite an experience.
That is, I've never seen a mako out diving before, and I've been out there quite a bit as well. That's a pretty special experience.
I had never seen one before either, and although I had a pretty good hunch, I was certain of what it was, I still had to look it up to make sure that I was looking at what I thought I was looking at. It was really special.
Yeah. So when did, going back to black coral, when did that become the state gemstone? Now, Hawaii doesn't have gemstones or crystals, and we have very few. There's like a few like in small quantity, like the olivine, which is also, you can find it on beaches, but it's not high quality, not enough for any kind of industry. So Hawaii adopted the black coral as the state gemstone because it is a special species out here that was originally named by Ricky Gregg.
Ricky Gregg, right. He wrote his thesis in college at the University of Hawaii on black coral. And that was back in the, I'm going to guess it had to be the early 60s, 62, 63, 64, somewhere around in there. And he was, at the time, he was a world famous surfer. And he was a big time surfer dude, and became a professor of in the field of the evolution of black coral and the different species.
The one species that we typically use in Hawaii for the jewelry is actually called Anthopathes griggi. It's actually named after him. He probably named it himself. Did he name that himself?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he named that himself or not, but but he's
why not?
He,
You know,
he
he's an amazing guy.
he's stuck with the name now.
And Ricky Grigg passed. He passed away, what, 4 or 5 years ago now, I think.
Sounds about
he was on
right.
Oahu.
Yeah,
And interesting fellow.
I'm still surprised that he's not with us anymore.
I know.
It just seems so natural for him to be around all the time.
Yeah, and he is actually also featured in the Black Coral movie. You can see some interviews with them, or him, on there, as well as some of the other divers that have passed over the years that aren't with us anymore. What else? What else in your diving? Do you have a favorite dive that you've ever done, or one that sticks out significantly more than any others?
Probably going over 300 feet deep on just compressed air.
It's not very, don't do that. Don't do that. We're not suggesting that that's a good idea.
Not one of the brightest things I ever did, and probably one of the most foolish things I ever did. I'm not quite sure how I made it back.
I'm surprised you made it back from that. That's
I am too.
Crazy.
I am too, but again, that was while we were still using World War II military surplus equipment. It was terrible equipment. 72 cubic foot tanks was a maximum size for us, and we had them put together cobbled together with yokes that supposedly were supposed to sustain high pressure. Sometimes didn't do so well, and all the equipment was substandard at the time. It was nothing you would want to dive with today.
I mean, there wasn't any set standard for the industry yet?
There were none. There absolutely were none.
Or no PADI 5-star centers to go to?
If you got back to the surface and you got decompressed properly and did not get the bends, the dive was successful.
Yeah, definitely.
That's pretty much the way it worked.
So after Black Coral, you didn't dive Black Coral for a significant time. How long? For a couple of years? 2, 3, 4 years?
I dove for Black Coral for about 6 years
6
total.
years?
About 6 years total. Yeah, and a lot of my friends were injured seriously while doing so. And later on, after I became an ocean operator, I was roped into going out and searching for divers that didn't come up at different times.
Yeah.
And so I was always exposed to it one way or another. Boy, those were the days.
It was a rough go back then. Yeah. I mean, there was numerous divers every year that would either go missing or be injured to the point of disability. Pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah, one of the days, one of my dives, I was on my way back up. I had been diving alone on that particular day, and I was on my way back up, and I got back up to about 90 feet deep, and looked up, and here came my boat coming on the way down to the bottom. So when I got up to the surface, and after decompressing, I ditched my tanks and kept my regulator and backpack and fins and so on and so forth. Started swimming for shore. It was a good number of miles back to Maui, but I did finally make it. I got into the West Maui area probably around between 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and climbed up on a red buoy that was offshore and immediately went to sleep.
Pretty exhausted by then.
I needed it.
Well, not only is that swim a couple miles, but the currents in the Au Channel, which is where this coral harvesting took place, is significant. I mean, those are the strongest currents I've ever experienced myself in Hawaii.
Well, that's the reason why it took so long to get back, was because of the current. I mean, I had to make a conscious choice whether to swim to Molokai, which would have been more down current, but substantially greater distance, or to swim for West Maui, what we call Mall of War for Panoa Point, and which was considerably less distant, but the battle with the current was going to be significant. Either way, I wasn't going to get to shore before nightfall, and I would be lucky to get there that night. So I was pretty fortunate to get there when I did.
Yeah, big time. So after living through that, and then eventually starting Whaler's Locker in '71, which at that time was a wholesale business, right?
It was. In 1971, when I started Whaler's Locker, I was strictly wholesale, and did that for 10 years before opening up the retail outlet at 780 Front Street. Primarily just because my wife at the time wanted something to do, and she was going to go out and go get a job or something silly like that, and I just said, hey, I've got $2 or $3 million worth of stuff sitting here in the warehouse, and we can just price it all out and open up a store downtown. She says, okay. So that's what we did.
Make your own job.
Yeah, we started off with a bunch of boxes in the middle of the floor, and pulling stuff out, and people were coming in, buying stuff from us, and it was working out, and it worked fabulously ever since.
Yeah.
Still pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, the rest is history, and we're still here, which is amazing.
We started off putting out a good quality product at a fair price, and the motto was, we don't lie, cheat, or steal, and it worked out to be a pretty good business model. We never had anything on sale, and it's been a successful motif.
And I think there's only been a couple things that we've sold that anybody actually needs.
Well, that was another thing too. We never sold anything that anyone ever needed. I mean,
yeah, everything you want, nothing you need.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's all cool stuff.
It could have been from super deep water, or it could have been from outer space. But everything we sold was essentially useless to everyone.
But it's cool.
But it's way cool stuff.
Yeah, and there's a lot to learn from it.
Everything we sold or sell is real, and almost little or very little or almost nothing is ever made in China. Mm-hmm. It's not that there's anything wrong with China, but everybody else sells stuff from China, so we really never really have found a need to engage in that type of product.
Yeah, definitely. And it's pretty awesome that, we're all safe. We all made it through all this craziness over the last month, and we're going to keep it going. So, like I said before, if you have any friends that you think would be interested in following us on any of our social media accounts, or just interacting with us online, it brings that algorithm, it brings the attention to us and keeps putting us up in that feed to keep this momentum going that we have right now. Instagram, Facebook, we just started a YouTube page, which I think next week we're going to start doing our live feeds on there, but I'll keep you guys posted on that. Anyway, so any questions? Anybody have any questions, Annie?
What's Bob's favorite thing to collect?
What's your favorite thing to collect?
Boy, I think meteorites.
Yeah.
Meteorites are way cool. And I like gold nuggets, natural gold nuggets. Really big natural gold nuggets.
I think everyone likes those.
Well, I just had a couple of them in my hand this morning, and I put them in my safe deposit box down in the...
Taking my gold nuggets?
No, these are like really big.
Okay, then my gold nuggets are
these
little
are like that. Yeah.
They're still real though, and they're still cool.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if they're mini, tiny, they're still cool. And same with meteorites; those are way cool.
Just a quick backup for the divers out there. Tell them who certified you to dive. Who was your certifying dive agency? Do you remember?
Who certified me to dive?
Yeah, your card is the LA Swimming Club or whatever the heck it was, LA Lifeguard. That's your original dive card.
Oh, what was that? Oh my God. No, I don't.
We'll have to pull it out. Basically, before there was a PADI or a NAUI, the LA lifeguards conducted dive classes and were teaching people out of Los Angeles, and Bob learned there.
Yeah.
We do have a question. How often are you still swimming?
Boy, I still swim 3 to 5 days a week, depending on the week, and the distances usually vary anywhere from about 1.5 to 4 miles per swim. Is kind of an average for me. I'm also one of the old-time member of the Dolphin Swimming and Rowing Club, which trains most of the English Channel swimmers in San Francisco, down by Hyde Street Pier. As a matter of fact, I just remembered the guy that really taught me how to swim. One of them was Leo Nomalini. He was a player for the San Francisco 49ers, and what was the other guy's name that was the first swimmer from Alcatraz to San Francisco back in the 50s. I was just a little kid. I was like about 8 years old, and here I am learning how to swim by these top of the line professionals. It was
That's
really
pretty cool.
something. Yeah, it was way cool.
Now, I know you've swam
Clyde Devine was
Clyde
the guy.
Devine.
Was the first guy to swim deliberately from Alcatraz to San Francisco.
And you've been swimming out there.
It's
cold.
Boy, I love it out there. I swim out there wearing the same thing I do here in Hawaii, just pair of Speedos and goggles. That's it.
Crazy.
Nothing else. I don't wear any wetsuits or anything.
Yeah.
This stuff just gets in the way.
Yeah, I'm a wuss. All right. Any other questions?
Somebody asked about the meteorites, if they were recovered.
Oh, we're still dealing with going down to site and getting access to the area. Everything up and down Lahaina has been closed off still because it's pretty toxic. There's a lot of just noxious things that people don't want to be exposed to. So until they get that stuff cleaned up, we're going to try to gain access to the area and see what we can recover. But we're not really sure yet.
And then does Bob's, is selling the meteorites the coolest thing we sell in the shop? Is there something cooler you've sold in the shop?
I think the meteorites are about as cool as it gets. I mean, they're the oldest things on Earth. There is nothing on Earth as old, anywhere near as old, besides me, as a meteorite. They're just astounding.
I
They're
think the...
hundreds of billions of years old.
What about the elephant bird egg?
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I think that's cool.
All right, I got a question.
Yeah?
If Bob could go anywhere in the world today, where would you go to visit?
I would probably go back to northwestern Botswana. It's probably the coolest place in the world I've ever been. It is as far from Maui as any spot on Earth. And I've been there twice on the same trip, but I've been there twice. Gotten out of the truck, stood knee deep in the Chobe River, and just celebrated the fact that I was as far from Maui as you could possibly get.
Yeah, beautiful country.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful back there. The wildlife is fabulous.
What else we got? Any other questions, folks? Coolest shark jaw you've sold?
Coolest shark jaw I've sold. I don't know. We've sold thousands of shark's jaws. I don't know which one would be the coolest.
Kite fins. The kite fins are really neat.
They're all fabulous.
Yeah.
They really are. All the rows of teeth and how they replace themselves and things like that is absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, and then the hammerhead jaws we've had with the full hammer on them have been super cool.
With the skeletal structure. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
It's pretty unusual stuff.
Yeah.
Of course, those are some of the most common, or not most common, but those are some of the coolest sharks we have to swim around here with, is all the hammerheads. I've got thousands of hammerhead sharks that migrate through this area. And I just absolutely love swimming with them and filming them. I've probably filmed more sharks than anyone else on the planet combined. It's just tens of thousands of sharks. They're just wonderful.
Now, is the hammerhead your favorite shark out here? The scalloped hammerhead?
Well, I don't know. I suppose it is just by proxy, if nothing else. There's more of them than anybody else. There's 2 or 3 different species of hammerheads here. I mean, we have great white sharks too, but they're extremely rare. And tiger sharks are probably one of my favorites.
They're pretty timid. You don't really see them very often,
They're
but there's a
not-
lot of them out there.
There's a lot of them out there. They're difficult to swim with. They are timid, and most people think they're terribly dangerous and things like that. Overall, no, sharks just are not generally very dangerous. They just aren't. They have the ability to do significant damage, but it's rare.
I think a
very
lot of that's
rare.
situational.
I've never been bitten by a shark, and I've swam with well over 100,000 sharks. I mean, I can swim with that many sharks in the course of a year or two. It's
Pretty awesome.
yeah, it is,
Yeah. And we're still going.
and we're
So-
still going.
Yeah, pretty cool. And lots more sharks to swim with.
Yeah. It's kind of neat. It's kind of neat to have sharks that are. They seem to be attracted to me just when I'm out swimming. Well, seriously.
Maybe they're your spirit animal.
Just when I'm out swimming, it's not uncommon for me to be alone, and when I'm alone, the sharks come right in next to me and say hi. That's just what happens, and that's not the only thing. I get barracudas come up and swim alongside of me frequently, as well as Ono. You know, large
Onos are so
large
cool.
Onos
Yeah.
swim right alongside of me. Probably as often as the barracudas do. You know, so
And they're pretty shy too.
yeah, 40. You know, several times a month. It's I'm really, really, truly blessed when it comes to wildlife in the ocean as well as on the land, but especially in the ocean. It just seems to be attractive to me, and whatever's out there, just in the end, will just swim right up to me and say hello. It's just fun.
Maybe you're part shark.
Well, I don't know, because it's everything else swims right up to
You have
me
some
too.
gills
It doesn't
back there?
matter if it's a moray eel or what it is. I
Yeah.
mean, they just come up and say hello. And
I think a lot of that is people's energy in the water. And when
Yeah.
you're a part of the environment, it's a lot different than just being a visitor.
yeah, and I really enjoy all the attention that I get. I'm just always amazed that something that big or small will just swim up to me and say hello. And I'm really very fortunate. And when someone else jumps in the water or sees me and starts to move towards me, whatever was with me vanishes. They just go away, and I can't explain.
I can't blame them. I usually do the same thing.
I cannot explain.
I'm out of here. All right, any other questions?
They were asking how Bob ended up here.
Oh, okay. So you ended up here. You were born in Ohio, and then you were in Florida for a while, right? Florida.
I was in Florida.
And then you went to
Central
California.
Florida. Well, I was in California. I lived in California for about 10 years as a child growing up, and learned how to swim in the ocean.
Were you in Vegas anywhere in there?
In
Or
Las
was that,
in
or was that
Vegas?
later?
That was just kind of an in and out thing. I spent a lot of time there, but
Yeah.
I didn't.
Not living there. though.
Yeah. And I've just pretty much had a good time my entire life. I've never had a meaningful job. I've always been what they call self-employed. The only actual paycheck I ever received was the time I spent in the military in the 60s. And but other than that, it's just been I've been self-employed, and I'm still having fun.
And you actually got to go back not too long ago to see the house that you were born in, right? In Ohio?
I did in Toledo.
What part of Toledo?
Toledo, Ohio. It's
I think you and Todd got a picture in front of it.
yeah, we did.
Yeah, cool.
I don't really, I don't really have a recollection of it, but it was neat to go back there and visit it and find it. And it was actually still standing after all these years.
Yeah.
So that was quite a treat.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Any other questions we got? Anything else you want to add?
Oh, I can probably think of something after this is all over and we go home.
Why don't you tell us about your flying?
Oh yeah, you're a pilot.
I am.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of an interesting thing too. I got involved in that. Oh my gosh, what's that guy's name?
Oh, the guy that's buried in Hana.
Yeah.
That guy?
Yeah, that
Lindbergh.
guy. Oh, Charles Lindbergh. Yeah,
Yeah.
he and I used to chat down on the seawall a lot, and I told him I was going to take flying lessons, and he says, "Well, that's great, but if you want to actually learn how to fly, you got to take aerobatics." Well, I never thought of something like that. So I took basic flying lessons and got a private pilot's license and stuff, and proceeded right on into various aerobatics courses, and that's where I learned how to fly stupid. It was quite interesting flying around up in the valleys here on Maui, and flying as close to the walls of the canyons as I was flying. And there were a couple of other guys that were doing the same kind of stuff, so we'd fly out in the Pailolo Channel between Maui and Molokai and fly up and down the channel wingtip to wingtip, and again doing things and maneuvers that we probably should be prohibited from doing, and we would have been, we would have been prohibited.
Might be the reason
if
they
someone
made those rules.
If someone had seen us. But Charles Lindbergh was a pretty cool dude. And he lived here on Maui for quite a number of years. And,
now, did he live in Lahaina?
No, he didn't. He lived in Kihei at the time, and but he spent a lot of time in Lahaina, and we used to sit together down on the end of the seawall, and that was just kind of one of those things. I took it for granted. I really didn't think it was anything special until much later on, after when people started making a big deal out of, "You knew Charles Lindbergh?" Yeah, of course I knew Charles Lindbergh. Everybody knew Charles Lindbergh,
Yeah. I also wanted you to tell people when you rented, because this is just kind of fun, when you rented your first place down on Front Street, how much was it per month?
Oh, Jesus. You gotta be kidding.
I remember, so during COVID, because the street was like empty, there was nobody around, so we'd open the shop for a couple hours here and there, work on projects that we had on our list, and then we would walk Front Street, and Bob would tell us stories about the different buildings and the history there. And we did come across, which it was now like a Hawaii, I think Musa Nadel's shop. At last time it was a place, but it was actually where Bob rented a place.
Oh, that was at
down by where Bubba's was.
At 724 Front Street. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a curio shop there. I think the rent was like $25 a month or something like that. Oh, I know what we're talking. Oh, wait
Yeah,
a minute.
over on the other side. Yeah, the other
on the
side.
other side of town, down
Uh-huh.
at the other end,
Yeah.
was my house. That's my apartment. That's where Moose's store
Yeah,
is now.
exactly.
Yeah, I started off at $15 a month there, and I almost moved out when they raised the rent to $20 or $25 a
I know.
month. And where Crazy Shirts is, that was my garage. That was included in the rent.
That whole space?
The whole thing.
Well, nobody wanted to live on the ocean.
Nobody wanted
Everything
to
gets
live on the
destroyed
ocean.
on the ocean.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Yeah. No,
So,
that's true.
yeah.
Being over the water was a bad place to be.
Yeah.
And now everybody wants to be over the ocean.
Yeah,
And it's
I'll
still
be up
just
the hill.
it's still just as bad a place to be.
Yeah,
It really
bad.
is.
Yeah. All right, any other questions?
Monica wants to know if whales are soft and squishy when they run you over.
Whales are not soft and cushy any time of the day
No,
or
no.
night. They are really bumpy.
Yeah.
And it really hurts when you get run over by one. It hurts in many places,
Yeah.
all at once.
No whale hugs?
It's
No.
Greg mentioned watching you getting run over by hammerheads. Greg Firstenworth?
Oh, Greg Firstenworth. Hey, Greg. Yeah, Greg dived with Bob a lot out at Molokai off Moku Ho'oniki with hammerheads. Yeah. Good stuff.
I love swimming with those sharks. They are just absolutely wonderful. They're so intelligent too. They just people just don't generally know much about sharks other than what they just pick up from news magazines or.
We're still here.
Okay, we
Yeah,
I knocked everything.
Say, oh, you know, if you're done, you can just tell me.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever people see in news magazines and in the media and stuff like that is just a bunch of malarkey. That's not what sharks are all about. They're a beautiful animal, and they're one of the more intelligent animals in the ocean too. They're up there with some of the marine mammals as far as thinking and being able to reason. It's quite impressive.
Yeah. So we did have a question if you've ever seen a whale shark.
No, he didn't
Yes.
see it. I saw it and yelled at him until he finally turned around.
I have seen a number of whale sharks. Thank you, Todd.
Yeah, whale sharks are cool. I've only seen a couple of them.
Yeah, I haven't seen I haven't seen very many of them either, but I've seen maybe a half dozen of them over the years.
Yeah.
And actually, I think I've probably seen half of them at Molokini.
Yeah. That's where I've seen most of mine.
I've seen at least 3 of them over there.
Yeah.
And but the one that Todd is referring to was one that was trying to run me over at Mokoniki, and he was hanging out right over the top of my head, and I was trying to figure out what Todd was waving and pointing at. I didn't look up for some time, and then so that's why he's getting such a kick out of telling people about his whale shark. So I took off after this whale shark. Todd stayed where he was, and I went all the way around Mokoniki Rock with him over the course of probably 40, 45, 50 minutes anyway. And I had a good swim with him. That was a fun day. I got lots of videos, and I got up to hanging onto his tail for a while and went for a ride. It was a good day.
It's cool stuff.
Ron Olson said, what got you into the birds?
What got you into the birds? How long have you had birds?
Gosh,
Long
I
time.
don't know. I don't know how I got into birds.
Remember you telling me a story that your neighbor had one that they weren't taking care of, and it got out and lived in the tree behind your place.
Oh, that's right, down
Yeah.
below the Nuescas.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you would climb up the tree and
Yeah.
take care of it.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. He
Yeah.
kept coming. He kept running away from home, and he'd come over to my house, and so I just eventually started feeding him and put some water out for him and stuff like that, and finally they gave up on chasing him and taking him back home, and just said, "You keep him." So that's how I started.
Well, I think that,
that was
you didn't
Coco.
really start with them. They kind of started with you.
They
I mean,
really-
you didn't seek out any of your birds, did you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were just runaways,
Mm-hmm.
and I just started taking care of them, and it worked.
Yeah.
And like everything else in the animal kingdom, they just really liked me, so it worked out well.
Yeah. And Dallas
I mean-
is doing good.
Dallas is doing great, and before the fires, I had like 40 chickens and roosters,
Yeah. Yeah.
all wild.
Yeah.
And they would make a habit of camping out on my front and back porch every day.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there's never been any shortage of animals around my house
Mm-hmm.
or in the ocean.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other good questions?
How's Dallas doing?
Talked about Dallas.
Fantastic.
Yep, Dallas is doing great. She's beautiful.
She's in Kihei today.
She's on a staycation.
Yeah.
Well, no, she's being taken care of over there. I'm staying at in Wailuku since the fire burned my home down in Lahaina, and I'm in Wailuku, and the birds are in Kihei, and they're being well taken care of, and I'm going over and visiting them every 2 or 3 days and spending an hour or two with them at a time.
Now the gal that's taking care of them, is it Maui Bird Rescue? Maui Bird Rescue?
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
extremely good.
Yeah, and she's on Facebook and social media, and I know that she does she's taken in a lot of people's animals that just needed a home free of charge, especially
Yeah.
with all these fires. Maui Bird Rescue, look her up, amazing lady that does some really great work. So definitely worth checking her out and supporting her, and that's where Dallas is right now.
And Beaker's there too.
Yeah, and Beaker. Yeah.
Greg asked about the cannon.
Oh yeah, you found a cannon in the Ow Ow channel.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Where is that darn thing
Did
now?
you sell it?
The cannon went to Maui Divers. You had it stored at Maui Divers on Front Street. When you were diving coral, you had it where Lappert's Ice Cream is now. You had the cannon in that shop.
Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was.
Probably sold it because you were
well-
a merciless capitalist.
Well, it's not because I'm a merciless capitalistic dog. It's because my diving partner at the time, Michael King, who has now since passed away, he just up and sold it when he had the
That's a
opportunity.
bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fabulous cannon. It was bronze. It was
It's probably-
solid bronze.
Probably a few more out there we can probably hunt down, you think?
Boy, I don't know. I think I've covered every inch of bottom out
Yeah.
there. It's,
Not for lack of looking.
there's a couple iron cannons out there, but
Yeah.
boy, trying to find any brass or
Oh,
bronze
forget it.
cannons is just I think just about impossible.
Oh, Monica, what's your question?
She wants to know if you're hiding behind the climb rope on an ascent, can the shark still see you?
Oh.
If I'm hiding behind
If
what?
you're hiding behind your deco line on a scent, can the shark still see you?
Yes.
Is
Done
that
th-
making
done
more
that.
of like a worm on the end of a line?
Done that. I've done that. Done that several times when I felt the need to be small and insignificant. Just hold that line right in front of you, and then they can't see you.
I'll
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the invisibility line.
Yeah. It's amazing how well it works, or doesn't.
Anything you can get between you and the big animal is a good
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
definitely.
Every once in a while, something just kind of comes out of left field and goes off the hook, and then you try to make yourself really small.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
That's it so
All right, so I want to thank everyone for showing up today, and please support us at Whaler's Locker. Again, tell your friends. We need to be able to buy Bob some more cheap clothing, so that's what we're working on here. And we're busy stocking the website and trying to build those social networks that we definitely have. We just need to get the word out and find our friends again. So, joke of the day. What's the joke of the day?
The shark one?
The shark one? You're better. I mess up jokes.
Well, I'm way over here though.
All right, you can tell it in the feed.
Okay.
All right, Annie's telling her joke of the day in the comments.
Okay.
I'll read it once you.
I'm typing as fast as I can.
But yeah, again, we have a new a new YouTube channel, which we'll be posting a lot of live videos on there. We'll be stocking up even more jewelry on the website. Like we talked about black coral today, you know, pieces like this. It's a really beautiful necklace. It's our own line called La Lani, and the really beautiful stuff. So we'll be adding to that collection as we go. It's always been a good collection that people really love, and a piece of Maui history. So why was the shark embarrassed?
Oh, I know.
Why, do you remember, Bob? Why was the shark embarrassed?
I have no clue. I do not remember.
It's because it saw the ocean's bottom.
Why don't sharks eat lawyers?
You gotta be kidding me.
Professional courtesy.
No, joke of the day. You're welcome.
That's
That's actually courtesy of Annie. That's one of her favorites.
There's a good reason I couldn't remember it. Oh,
Yeah.
brother.
I don't do well with jokes. I forget them all. Also, if you guys need whale tails, can you see that okay? Anyway, more Lalani jewelry coming up. And again, tell your friends, spread the word. We're still here. We're not giving up. And if we keep getting support from you guys, we'll eventually be able to rebuild and make Whaler's Locker even stronger on the other side of this.
It's the coolest black coral jewelry you'll find anywhere on the planet.
That's right. All right, guys. Any other questions? All good? Thank you again for showing
Aloha.
up today and talking story with us. Appreciate you. Aloha.